Waste. Anytime you can reduce waste, you're going to save money. But let's dig a little deeper, because there's waste, there's garbage that goes to landfill, but there's also packaging, how things are made, what you can do in terms of recycling, and even composting. In this section, we're going to talk about how you can look at all of that comprehensively in ways that you can not only save on waste, improve recycling and composting, but ways that you can save money at the same time. Target, for example, they changed the specifications for their individual items that were being packaged, reduce the quantity of excess pins, clips, paper inserts, all the stuff that when you buy a product, you immediately pull right out and you either discard or find a way to recycle. Well, they reduce their waste by 1.5 million pounds, and it saves them $4.5 million just in labor costs every year. Shoe companies like the North Face have done similar things where they've reduced the packaging and the number of inserts that, customers, when they buy it, they don't really care about. So by reducing that, it saves them money not only on the packaging costs, but the labor costs of packaging and putting it all together. And then where it's all disposed, they're saving that money as well. The Holiday Retirement Center, which you may not be thinking of retirement communities as innovative places to tackle waste, they diverted over 40% of their organic waste that was coming out of their kitchens from landfills, whether that was putting it in a compost or other areas. But by implementing a comprehensive recycling, composting, and waste management plan, they were able to save their costs by 13% annually. KAISER Permanente, implemented a hospital-wide program that recycled, 6,000 tons of paper, plastic, glass, and aluminum waste. They also started using reusable totes when they shipped medical and surgical products throughout their system. This diverted over 18,000 cubic yards of waste from landfills. It saved them more than $300,000 in disposal costs alone. And by using the bins, they were able to actually save an additional $750,000 annually by using the reusable totes, because they're not paying for the cardboard, they're not paying for the buying of it, the recycling of it, and all the manpower that's put into it. They're just recycling the totes. Outer Wall, which you may know by some of their smaller brands, Coinstar, Redbox, Eco ATM, at their offices outside of Chicago, where Redbox is headquartered, they switched from soda machines that had aluminum cans in them to just fountain sodas. One of those jazzy, Coca-Cola things where you can pick all the different flavors and everything. And just the switch from, actual aluminum cans that had to be recycled or disposed of to, an eco container that could be used over and over again, they were able to save over $73,000 annually and over 2,700 pounds of solid waste that was going into either landfill or recycling every single year. It goes beyond just your day-to-day. Sometimes it's in the design and the construction of a project you're working on. The Lozier Group, for example, when they were building a 60-home project outside of Issaquah, Washington, their home building area, they decided that they were going to look at ways that they could reuse and separate the wood waste from the rest of the building waste and find out what could be recycled. And they were able to actually, find a way that they were recycling close to 130 tons of materials per house. Now that saved them $245 per house. You might think, oh, well, $245, whatever. But that has a massive impact on the environment by recycling that. But it also saved them over $14,000 for doing that, just for that 60-home unit. So when you look at demolitions of buildings, it used to be that they would knock it down with a wrecking ball or they would implode it and then everything would go off to a landfill. Well, all of that wood, that steel, that rebar, it all has value to somebody. And so organizations are finding ways that they can repurpose, reuse, and recycle that, not only because it's better for the environment, but also it's a way to recapture some of that, what would be just waste that would be going to landfill, and getting some dollars for that at the same time. Maybe you're an organization, maybe you're a nonprofit, maybe you're a small business and you're thinking, well, okay, I don't have huge waste streams, we use paper. Well, the Royal Society for Protecting Birds, now you may be thinking, okay, I don't have anything to do with that, but that's just a representative example of a small nonprofit where they started sending, their internal newsletters electronically. They just set their default printers to double-sided. They obviously started sending paychecks electronically like all of us do in the digital age. They reduced their paper usage just in the first 3 months by 22%, and they saved in that same amount of time $4,700. So again, you might be thinking, I'm a small business, what can I do? Here's an example. We're just using some common sense ways of reducing paper can actually, help your bottom line. Maybe you're an organization that takes in a lot of packages. You don't generate a lot of stuff on site, but you take in, a lot of corrugated boxes. Umanoff and Parsons in Brooklyn, for example, they started getting all these corrugated boxes that came from United Shipping and Packaging, and they had 3,000 of these leftover corrugated boxes, and they're like, God, this is taking up a lot of room. Should we just recycle it? Well, no, they were actually able to find a way. They were able to divert all of those wanted corrugated boxes from their facilities away from landfills, and they were able to actually sell them to people who might use it. They saved approximately $2,500 in disposal costs, and roughly $300 they made from selling that, the corrugated back to there. So this was a way that they actually turn a slight profit on what was waste at one point. And that's the kind of thinking you want to look at. What waste are we generating, and does someone else want that? Kind of think of a Craigslist for your own waste. Would anybody want this? You'll find that there's buyers for that, and you can actually get a revenue stream back to your business or organization and improve the environment by keeping it in its productive use at the same time. Moving beyond waste, recycling, and paper, let's think about food. Food waste is, it's wasteful. You want to reduce as much of it as you can, because anything that goes into the garbage, you've paid for that. You've not only paid for it, you've bought it, but then you're paying for it to dispose of. So Bellingham, Washington, their school district started a composting program, just getting people to sort out what was their food waste, because food waste is extremely heavy. When you think of your own garbage at home and you dump stuff in your garbage, you have your paper, your plastics, that doesn't weigh much, but when you drop in coffee grounds or meats or foods, that's heavy. And you pay price a lot of times by the pound or ton in terms of your waste. Well, Bellingham, by starting this composting program, they were able to divert over 800,000 pounds of what was food waste that was typically going to landfills into a composting program, and a net savings of $53,000, for making this program happen. The EPA building in California actually went a step further from composting. They initiated a worm composting program. Now, I know you might be getting the heebie-jeebies unless you're someone from the Pacific Northwest or someone who's always been doing worm composting. But they started, with this worm composting program at their facility, and they also looked at, things like, do we actually need liners and bags in all of our garbage cans? And some of these cloths that were just, paper towels were thrown away. Are there some reusables that we could use instead? And by just looking at this and taking a comprehensive look, they were diverting 10 tons of waste from their landfills and putting it back to productive use, and they saved over $90,000 annually. As you look at what can I do, what can my organization do, think through all four of these different areas. What packaging comes into our organization, and what do we send out? What's unnecessary? What's unnecessary for you? What's unnecessary for the end user? Are there ways to reduce that? Because that'll save money. That'll also save people time. A lot of us get a lot of cuts when we open up packages with scissors or whatever. There's a lot of, societal benefit of having frustration-free packaging and ways of doing it. Think about waste. Anything you're throwing out, you've paid for. So how can you reduce waste? How can you put it back into productive use? What ways can you be better about recycling or composting? Food waste is something that no one really, likes to deal with. People think, oh my gosh, if I've got a compost bin in my, break room or our cafeteria, it's going to smell bad. Well, the compost containers now, they don't smell. They've figured that out. You're not going to have bugs flying around, but you find an effective way of diverting really heavy waste. They can be put back in a productive use in terms of soil or whatever, and you'll find a way that it can come back in. For example, Safeco Field, where the Seattle Mariners play, they have diverted so much food waste to the Cedar Grove composting. They actually have Cedar Grove Compost Night. And you think about this. People come to a Mariners game, and yes, they expect to get, a little bobblehead doll or a small bat or some type of, game. But there is such demand that people actually will come for Cedar Grove Compost because it is good. And that is the Mariners' old garbage from fans throwing out their hot dogs and, whatever is left from their nachos and everything. They've found a way to take even that most disgusting waste and put it back into productive use. And that's kind of thinking you can think of in this case study and how you can develop and derive business value from waste.